what is the easiest way to get started in functional programming and to make your existing code just a little bit more functional today? Hi, my name is Eric Normand, and these are my thoughts on functional programming. So I think the easiest refactoring you can do right now is the following. Find a function that reads in global mutable values, global mutable variables. All right, you probably have a few, and it's being called somewhere, and make sure that this function doesn't do any other actions. Remember, reading a global mutable variable is an action because it depends on when you run it. You're going to get a different answer depending on when you read that value, because it can change over time. So what you want to do is take that function and make sure there's no other actions in it besides reading global variables, and go through and find each time you read a global variable, make that an argument to your function. All right, so instead of reading from the global variable, you're just going to read from the argument. All right, you can even use the same name as the global variable. That's fine. And you do that for all your reads of global variables. And then you have to go to the functions that call that one, and instead of just calling it with the old arguments, they are going to read the value from the global variables and pass those in. Okay, so you've moved the responsibility of reading the global variables up one level of the calls. Right? Now, what you had before was an action that called an action. You had some function that called this function that you just changed, and both of those were actions. Right? The function that you just added all these arguments to, that one was an action because it read from global mutable state. And the function that called that one was an action because it called that one. But now you've moved some actions out of this function. You moved all the actions out of this function. So now it's a calculation. Now it is a pure function from arguments to return value. And therefore, you've made your total code base incrementally a little bit more functional. You have more code that's in a calculation and less in actions. And that means that this function is now more testable, because you can call it as many times as you want. You don't have to set up these global variables in their environment. Often one of the reasons why these kinds of functions are so hard to test is because we don't realize all the possible states that could exist in those global variables. There's always code could write to that at any time, and we just don't think of all the values. But now you can test it a lot more thoroughly because it's all self-contained. All right. So I hope that helps you make your code a little bit more functional. You can always get in touch with me if you have any questions or any suggestions. I'm on Twitter at Eric Normand with a D. You can also email me anytime. I love getting into discussions. My email address is eric@lispcast.com. Thank you very much.